What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. In this video, I'm not going to be reviewing a movie for you guys. I also am not really going to be talking about any upcoming films. What I want to do in this episode is I want to rank the Fast and the Furious franchise films. Okay, there's 7 of them right now, and I'm going to rank them for you from 7 to number 1. Before I do that, let's just talk about Fury 7 at the box office, because what it did over the last 2 weekends is absolutely phenomenal, and I think a lot of people should know about this because something extraordinary happened. Okay, Fast 6, that would be Fast and Furious 6, the previous installment, made $788.7 million worldwide. Okay, with 550 accounting for its foreign gross, and then 238.7 accounting for its domestic gross. That would be North America. Okay, this is done in its entire theatrical run. Okay, this is a matter of, I don't know, 2.5 months, I don't know, 2 months, something like that. Okay, so let me tell you what the current gross for Fury 7 after 2 weekends. Okay, this is roughly what, 10, 11 days, something like that. Okay, so what what Fast 6 did in its entire theatrical run is what Fury 7 did in 2 weekends, okay? And that is $803.2 million worldwide, okay? That's in 11 days, okay? That is ridiculous, okay? Domestically, it did $255.2 million. 11 days is what it took to exceed what Fast 6 did in its entire theatrical run. And also $548 million accounts for its foreign gross. Once again, very, very extraordinary. Fury 7 is currently the highest grossing installment in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Universal Pictures is really, really happy right now, and they are thinking about what they're going to be doing with the sequels. And I say sequels with a plural because there's going to be 8, 9, and 10. Okay? Apparently, from what I understand, we're going to see more of the Kurt Russell character, and we are also going to be seeing the films go back to its roots, and that is America. Okay? With Fast 8 taking place in New York. Okay? That's all I know right now. But another thing that I do know is the fact that we're not going to see these films right away. Okay, you know how Fast 6 came out in 2013? They originally wanted to make Fast 7, or rather Furious 7, for 2014. Okay? Just 1 year apart from each other. That's not a whole lot of time. But the cast and crew were very, very excited and enthusiastic to get together once again to make another film. Unfortunately, Paul Walker had an accident which cost him his life, and that delayed the production to 2015 release. Now, they no longer have Paul Walker. So therefore, the studios are treading very, very softly, and they're not going to jump the gun, and jump into the fast track and decide to go straight into another sequel right away. The reason why they don't want to do that is because all good things come to an end. What they have is a very, very good thing, and the only thing they could do, there's only so few or so many things they could do to screw it up, okay? There's a great momentum going on, but it doesn't mean that you should just keep going and going and going and going until, something bad happens, which is, the franchise is taken to the wrong direction. So right now, Universal Pictures and their board of executives, they're meeting, and they are talking about what is the direction they're going to take it in. They don't have Paul Walker. We're obviously going to bring back Dominic Toretto's character. We're going to have Kurt Russell's character. But what are they going to do with those characters? All right? What are they going to do with Dwayne Johnson's character, Hobbs? That's all going to be discussed. And they got to find a way to make it so that they can continue the success of the previous films, but without Paul Walker. Okay, it's going to be a whole new direction, all right? But essentially, we are going to be getting more or less of the same formula, all right? Which works, all right? So anyways, this brings me to my ranking of all 7 films, okay? Now, it might be a little bit controversial because one of the films that I'm going to be choosing as in a certain rank is one that a lot of people don't like, but I think it's totally underrated, and I'll explain why. Now let's go on to number 7, okay? Number 7 is Too Fast, Too Furious, directed by John Singleton. Now I totally respect John Singleton as a filmmaker, but this has got to be one of his weakest films, okay? I like the fact they introduced Tyrese. I like the fact they introduced Tej, played by Chris Bridges, aka Ludacris, but their characters really don't do a lot for the film. They do a lot for the franchise as a whole, but for this film, it was a bit weak. Okay? One of the reasons why I felt that this film is the weakest is because it felt like a B movie. It didn't feel like it was anything different. It didn't feel grand. Sure, the climactic race scene, at the end of the movie was somewhat exciting, but all it was the same street race that we've seen before, but with like 50 or 100 cars. Okay? That's all it was. There was really nothing new about it. Okay, they introduced a couple new characters. Vin Diesel took off. He's absent from this film because he went off to direct, or rather work on Triple X with Rob Cohen, who directed Fast and the Furious. Okay, but there was really nothing new introduced here, and it felt like a low-budget movie. Okay, so Too Fast, Too Furious, number 7, which would be the last one, or rather my least favorite. Number 6 would be Fast and Furious. That would be Fast and the Furious 4. Okay. This is where they bring back, or rather reunite, Dominic Toretto with Brian O'Connor. And what I liked about this movie was that you bring back that element where Dominic Toretto is protective over his sister, and that's why there's this feud that we're so familiar with Brian O'Connor. I like that. But what I didn't like, or rather what I felt didn't work for me, is the rest of the movie. Okay, like I said before, it just feels like the same thing. Race wars, street racing, drag racing. But the only thing they did differently was that they introduced a couple new villains, and then at the end, it was the cave racing. Okay, sure, that was interesting. Okay, that was different. But, when you're racing in a cave or through a mountain, you got low visibility. Okay, and that also means low visibility for the audience, which makes the race quite underwhelming, rather. I mean, sure, it was unique. It was something different, but, this movie's all about the big car chases, and it doesn't work for me if I don't really know where they're going, or at least I don't see the grand scale of, the bigger picture of the beginning, middle, and end of this race. Okay, so didn't do a whole lot for me. Okay, in fact, I really felt that it was a really weak and forgettable installment. Which brings me to number 5, and this is where some people will find it to be a little bit controversial that I am picking the original Fast and the Furious as number 5, okay, before the other ones. This is the very original. This is the one that started it all. This is the one that introduced Brian O'Connor, Dominic Toretto. I'm putting it at number 5, and I'll explain why. First of all, I think it's a great film. Okay, fine. It's not a great film. It's a good film. It's a decent film. It's directed by Rob Cohen, and what they did here is something that we've seen before in other films, okay? But they just took a different spin on it. There's another film called Point Break, okay? It has Keanu Reeves as an undercover cop, and he's trying to infiltrate a bunch of bank robbers. Okay, and these bank robbers love to surf. They're thrill seekers. They're surfers. They're skydivers. They're thrill seekers, led by Patrick Swayze. Okay, he becomes friends with them, and then eventually has to turn on them because he is, of course, a cop. You copy this story element, you paste it onto Fast and the Furious, and now you have an all-new film. Okay, Fast and the Furious takes that element and brings it into the street racing world. But essentially, it's the same movie. You have the friendship there. You have the undercover cop element. It's full of twists and surprises. You have Dominic Toretto being suspicious about him. It's the same freaking movie. But it doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I like this story. Okay? It works. I like the fact that they put the street racing spin on it. It's something we've never seen before. So, it totally works. I think it's a good movie. Even though I ranked it at number 5, it doesn't mean that it's a low ranking. I like this movie. Okay? Number 4. Now this is the one where a lot of people did not like this one at all. Okay, but I think that this film is underrated, and I also think that a lot of people don't like it because they're they're also not seeing a lot of great elements about it. Okay, that would be number 4, Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. I like this film for a number of reasons. First of all, it brings it to the very, very roots of import racing, import tuning. Okay, this is where it all started. Japan. Speaking of Japan, Tokyo plays a character in this movie. The location itself is a character. You cannot have Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift without Tokyo. Okay, it is a character in the movie. It is a very strong element that is dominant in the entire movie. It's present in the entire movie, and you feel that all the time because this is also a fish out of water story, which also is a very entertaining element about this film. Now, another thing that is great about this movie is, of course, drifting. Something we've never seen before, and something that isn't even explored that much in the franchise as a whole. Tokyo Drift is about the world of drifting, and when I see them drifting, it is an art. Okay, it's done so, like, I guess so elegantly, and it's something that we are just introduced to in this installment of the franchise. Okay, and another great thing about Tokyo Drift is the introduction of this gem of a character, and that is Han, played by Sung Kang. Okay, he's a great character. He's very, very fascinating. I find he's a very mysterious character. There's a lot you want to know about him. I want to know about his history. I want to know why he does what he does. Okay, he's a very, very unique character, and like I said, he is a gem. Now, what I didn't care for is the character of Sean Boswell. I really didn't care for his character at all. Okay, but he is the character that he's the protagonist, so therefore, through his perspective, we see the movie through his eyes, and therefore, we get to see everything that goes on in this world of underground street racing and drifting. So, very, very cool. I like this movie a lot. Okay, so I think a lot of people, they don't see it for those reasons. I think a lot of people don't like it because of, they're looking at the film at face value, and that is the fact that you have you have this weak character played by the weak Sean Boswell character as a replacement for Paul Walker, and that is Brian O'Connor. His Brian O'Connor character. We see the absence of Brian O'Connor. We see the absence of Dominic Toretto, and we see them replaced by Sean Boswell and the character that Bow Wow played. Okay, so people look at that and instantly they're thinking like, oh, this movie's not going to be good. And I think that you got to look at it from a different perspective. Okay, there's a lot of great things in this movie, and there you have it. Now, this brings me on to number 3, and that is the most recent installment, Furious 7. Furious 7. I really, really like Furious 7, but I don't think that it is like the strongest of the sequels. Okay, it's very formulaic. It's more or less the same when compared to the previous 2 films. You got a lot of great action, but what's really great about it is the chemistry. The chemistry between the characters, it's evolved, and you really see that camaraderie, and I think that's the driving force behind this film. Okay. As for the action, very entertaining, but it's not that much different from what we've seen before. I don't think there's anything in here that we've really stood out, other than that skydiving, that entire skydiving sequence. That was cool. That was actually really, really cool. But everything else wasn't really that spectacular to me. It really didn't blow my mind. Okay. Number 2 is Fast 6, otherwise known as Fast and Furious 6. This was really, really cool. They introduced some new elements in this movie, and that was the martial arts aspect of this film. And they bring in the Joe Taslim character, who was in The Raid, and he goes up against Han and Roman, and then you introduce mixed martial arts in there with Gina Carano versus Michelle Rodriguez. Very, very cool. Then they bring in a tank. So it's really, really entertaining, and I think that it's a really great film. Okay, as an action movie, it is actually really, really great. Okay, but number 1 is the one that started it all for the new direction. Justin Lin is a genius in taking the direction of this film into the world of full-on action films. Okay, like we're talking about a hardcore action film. You got everything in this movie, and it all started off with Fast 5. Okay, I love Justin Lin's direction, and I think that there's a lot of great moments in this film. Of course, the introduction of the Hobbs character, and then Hobbs' character, and then you have that sequence at the very end, which I thought was so much fun. It really, really just took the action to a whole other level, and I felt that Justin Lin set a new bar for himself. All right, with Fast 5. So there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. I'm really, really happy with this franchise. It's one of my favorite action franchises, and I'm really excited and looking forward to see where Universal Pictures is gonna take it next. And there you have it. That's all I gotta say in this video. Why don't you guys let me know your ranking of these films in the comment section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook, The Ragin Nation. Also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. One last job is because of family. It's a theme. It's a recurring theme. Okay. It's constantly reminded to the audience. Okay.